Welcome to Fan Podcast, the only show that gives you all the industry insights in one place. I'm your host, Adar, and today our guest is Asaf Nadler, co-founder of Addressable.io. Okay, Fan Podcast number 5. Today we're joined by Dr. Asaf Nadler, co-founder and COO of Addressable, one of the leading web-free growth platforms, helping companies actually understand and acquire those users. Addressable is solving one of the biggest problems in crypto, attribution. With over 23 million wallets linked to social profiles and hundreds of campaigns executed across the ecosystem, they're giving the teams the ability to go from guesswork to precision, tracking everything from ad engagement to real on-chain conversions. They've worked with some of the biggest names in this space, including Coinbase, Polygon, Polkadot, Shuffle, and more recently, they've partnered with us at FAM, where we've been exploring growth opportunities in verticals like crypto iGaming together. What makes this conversation especially interesting is that Asaf and his team sit on top of a massive amount of data across Web3, and that gives them a very real, very unfiltered view into what's actually happening and what isn't. So today we're going to break down the current state of Web3 marketing, the biggest mistake crypto iGaming teams are making, what's really happening behind the scenes, and why the influencer era in crypto might be coming to an end. Stay tuned.
Thank you so much for having me, Adar. I'm really excited to be on the show.
Thank you for coming, Asaf. So starting off, maybe start with something a little controversial. You recently posted that the influencer era in Web3 marketing just hit a wall, especially with changes on X. Now, that's a pretty big statement because a lot of crypto, especially crypto iGaming companies, are still relying very heavily on streamers and KOLs. What exactly changed, and why do you think this is such a big turning point?
Right. So let's break down the facts. Almost all projects love to go viral organically, and for the people that are listening to us over audio and are not seeing the video, I'm kind of playing the double quotes with my hand. What projects typically like to do with influencers is use their platform to get something that looks like organic scale. What we're seeing on the Twitter side, which is naturally where most of the crypto chatter takes place, is that X took more and more actions towards making influencers harder in crypto. The first change that they made is they made InfoFi banned. So InfoFi, for the listeners that are not familiar with that, these are platforms that create a marketplace between influencers and projects where a project can incentivize influencers to speak about specific topics. And if they do that, they are being ranked on a chart and they get incentivized for that. So X limited the ability of InfoFi platform to track influencers' work on the platform, effectively getting the biggest platforms like Kaito, like Cookie, like all the rest of them to stop operating, which was a huge hit for crypto influencers. The second thing, which was somewhat of an alternative that's called paid partnership on X, also released bans to paid partnership that has to do with crypto, which made crypto even harder to promote using KOLs. And lastly, X are still pushing for more crypto to go off the organic path by now marking all of crypto conversation. And in the For You feed, which is where most of us crypto togglers are spending most of our time, by default, crypto is not marked. So if you're a native user on X and you're not doing anything, you will not see anything that has to do with crypto unless directly you ask for that to be shown. What all of that means together is if you're a project that is looking to promote what you're doing to the world, and you're thinking that you will do that organically, or you're thinking that you'll do that semi-organically using KOLs, it just got way, way harder, right? It's still possible. You can still contact these KOLs and influencers. You can do direct buys with them. You could try all sorts of different things, but it's becoming impossible to measure. It's becoming very difficult to settle. If you're still planning on working with 10 or 50 of these, that's going to be way, way harder for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's obviously a topic that I've been very vocal about. And one of the solutions to that, which naturally I'm very vocal about, is about the use of ads. So ads have been there for a reason. There's a reason that ads is still around, and for literally 30 to 40 years, it paid for the internet, right? And on the advertising part, X is actually quite fair towards crypto advertisers. Naturally, they would want to make sure that you have a license. They would want to make sure that what you're advertising is compliant and that it's fair and that it's not misleading. But for our listeners over here that want to promote a project that is totally legit and has value to its users, actually is actually quite a good platform. It has the biggest reach for
Mm-hmm.
crypto audiences. So definitely something that I think a lot of advertisers should consider.
Okay. So in general, if I'm trying to summarize what you're saying, I personally know that operators are overpaying influencers and streamers. At the other hand, you're saying it's also becoming technically more and more ineffective. Therefore, your advice to operators, to advertisers would be to prioritize ads over influencers?
What I would always advise is to put numbers against numbers and compare apples to apples, right? So the cost
Mm-hmm.
of acquisition are blind to whether you're using influencers or whether you're using ads or whether you're using billboards, right? So it's always
Mm-hmm.
about apples to apples. What I am saying is that for some advertisers that rely on branding and they care how the users see them,
Mm-hmm.
um, being insistent that you only stick to the organic path, it's no longer very effective. And if you compare apples to apples, especially on X, where a lot of the chatter takes place, ads are probably more effective with the given restrictions that X had put on both organic and KOS.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So more accurate, more effective. Okay. Thank you for that. Moving on to a different topic, Addressable. Addressable has over 23 million wallets linked to social profiles. From your data, how big is the opportunity in crypto iGaming right now, broadly speaking?
Perfect. So I'll give a bit of more context about Addressable and what we do. So at
Mm-hmm.
Addressable, we figured out that one of the biggest limitations to growth is not being able to understand the users, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem everywhere, regardless of whether that's crypto or anywhere else,
Mm-hmm.
where it's very difficult to properly understand user behavior and be able to target users correctly. In the blockchain and crypto world, that's actually an advantage because the entire world of transactions in crypto and on the blockchain is public, right?
Yeah.
And you can use it for the first time ever as a marketer or as a founder to understand who's making money, what users are doing well, what is working. And if you can harness this data for yourself, you can make much, much better decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with that understanding in mind, what we built at Addressable is a platform that connects anonymous wallet owners on chain to who they are behind the scenes. So companies can target wallet owners using advertisement and track that and optimize their campaign performance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's naturally a huge opportunity in crypto where for the first time, if you ask any advertisement, specifically in iGaming, what characterizes the target audience that your iGaming operator would aim for, that your brand would aim for?
Mm-hmm.
Most operators are thinking about that in financial behavior. I want people who gamble frequently. I want people who have the net worth to gamble. I want people who bought some specific assets so I can know whether they're a good opportunity for my brand. But with most targeting platform, what they're forced to think like is, okay, what's their geo and what's their age? That's it. That's
Yeah.
pretty much it.
Yeah.
We wanted to change that. We wanted to make life more efficient for businesses, including iGaming. So what our platform offers is for the first time, you can describe users by what are they buying, what's their net worth, are they gamblers, are they high rollers, and use that to your advantage so you can grow successfully.
Yeah. And you obviously have a lot of visibility into the broader crypto world. And obviously also down there to the crypto iGaming specifically. Now, with this visibility, would you say we are still very much early days for crypto iGaming specifically, I would say? Or is this already a very crowded market, lots of cannibalizations, lots of competitiveness between the brands themselves?
It's somewhere in the middle between them, right? So
Mm-hmm.
on we're past the early days, we are seeing more and more iGaming crypto companies being formed up because with iGaming in general, or even with gambling that goes beyond iGaming, it's always kind of a cat and mouse game between the gaming platforms and the regulation, right? It's a
Mm-hmm.
day, year after year, the regulation is closing more, and the gambling industry needs to think about fair and compliant ways for them to work.
Mm-hmm.
Crypto, in that sense, have made gambling fair in some senses, effective in some senses, in really kind of a huge opportunity. And I think we've seen that with the emerging brands of Stake.com, of Rollbit, of Shuffle, of others that are making great success. So we're not too early in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
Having said that, it's very clear that crypto iGaming is still not taking that to the extreme, right? It's There's still a lot of opportunity when it has to come for iGaming being more fair with putting gambling on the blockchain, with crypto having the possibility to make microtransactions more effective. For instance, when
Mm-hmm.
somebody gambles and then withdraws, that the operator is not losing a lot of money for that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and what we're seeing is that still a lot of emerging projects are still going for very, very basic thing. It's still, and we see that quite a lot. Let's take the white label of crypto. Let's put crypto payment on top. Let's create a huge brand and go to market. But there are about 100 that are doing that, right?
Yeah.
So we
Mm-hmm.
do need to get more creative. We do need to use more of the advantages of blockchain. We do need to think more out of the box. So we're somewhere in the middle of
Mm-hmm.
that era, in my perspective.
Okay. Yeah, you touched on something that I want to address as well. In the first FAM podcast, I interviewed Martin Varand. He's worked in the crypto iGaming space for a good few years, and he's seen plenty of what we call same brands, right? So we're seeing also today more and more crypto casinos launching every week, but far too many are launching on white label products. Like you mentioned, they're recycling the same messaging. They're competing on identical positioning at the end of the day, and they don't stand out. On the other hand, we've also seen relatively new brands that have launched some 12, 14 months ago that have penetrated the top 10 positions already. So brands like Yeet.com or Duel.com or Menace, and more recently Mint.io, they're showing that there's real room for innovation on the brand side and probably also on what happens at the backstage, right? What data they use, what tech they use, how they're able to monitor their target and retain their user base. You mentioned as well in one of your posts that a lot of teams are executing poorly. What specifically are you seeing that they're doing? Like apart from what we can see from the outside, oh, they're using a white label, they're going to market using affiliates, etc. What specifically are they underestimating now about this space, and how competitive is it going to be in 2 months, 4 months, 6 months?
I think what they're missing on is brand building. I think most of the iGaming founders in the crypto space, they used to work for other iGaming businesses. A lot of time they used to work in the areas that has to do with acquisition or with growth. And a lot of time, what they've seen and what it looks like after you build a brand, which is really the math of seeing growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, they're building a new brand. They're taking a white label with the most common games that we all know and love. Um, and they're coming to us or to different other vendors and saying, this is what I want for an FTD, for a first time
Mm-hmm.
deposit. These are the rates that I'm expecting to see. Let's do it. You're asking them, okay, that's great. What's the creative? What's your promise to the world? I don't know. You can put $40 and play for 80, saying great. But do you understand that you're replicating the exact same thing that 100 other iGaming businesses are saying, and
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, Have you invested in building a brand? Have you brought world-class partnerships? Have you brought ambassadors? Have you brought streamers on board? Have you done the work to distinguish yourself? And the answer is oftentimes yes, but it's really a no. It's really they went directly to user acquisition without building the infrastructure of brand. And that's the key thing that is missing. Where are we unique? What's the new message that we have to give the world? What should users come to us? And how do we invest in that? And in the crypto space, there's lots of ways to do that. And there's lots of effective ways to do that. If you target the right audience, you bring the right messages. But you have to think that through and understand that you're not alone in the world. If you're not bringing something that makes you unique, then you're just like anybody else running the same cut-through game.
Quick break. And if you're not following FAM yet, now's the time to fix that. We're on Instagram, X, and YouTube. All links are down below. On Instagram, we post the rooms, the events, the people. On X, we drop industry takes and announcements before anyone else. And on YouTube, well, you're already here. Hit follow, hit subscribe, and make sure you don't miss what's coming next. Yeah, and again, from the data point of view, I imagine you're seeing a lot of the flow between the brands. And you can also tell some of these brands that you're working with, look, your users, they were here today with you, but actually the same day they were also different places, and tomorrow they're likely to go somewhere else. Can you also predict some things now?
We can do even more than that. So at Addressable, one of the core offerings that we're being known for is running ads, targeting wallet owners using advertisements. But we also have other offerings where what we're offering is a better visibility into your audience. For instance, with a very simple installation, we can look into your website traffic and let you know these are the crypto users that are currently on your website, even before they ever sign up, even before they ever convert. And we can tell you these users are whales, or these users, they have been working with your competition, depositing these amounts, or this user that had converting with you is now starting to spend on your competition. That's the magic of crypto. There is lots of data and visibility that is actionable for iGaming business. And we all know that iGaming businesses, especially when they're well developed, what they're putting a lot of emphasis on is on retention. In how do we look at the CRM? How do we track the users? How do we make sure that we know who's the VIP that needs to get the right treatment? How do we understand that somebody is not drifting away to our competition? Crypto makes a lot of that easier with very, very strong signals. And a lot of iGaming operators, they're still not aware of that. They're still not aware that this is possible, or they're still very early in the acquisition route. What I want to tell everybody is that with crypto, you can start with that much earlier. Even when you're still in the acquisition stage, you can use the data. You can use platforms like ours that provide that for visibility. For let's look into the users on our website. Did they ever convert somewhere else? Do they have a large net worth? Are they high rollers? Should we do something special around that to grow correctly?
Yeah, and for some of our crypto casino operators that will be listening and looking at this podcast, are you also helping tokenization? Like token sales?
So we are helping with promoting token sales, but being honest, at this point in the market, there's not a lot of retail interest in tokenization. It's naturally it's a sign function, right? It has its up and downs.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, what we're seeing users more looking for is utility and entertainment. And on that part, I think iGaming has a huge potential, right? Because if we're taking a zoom out into the overall kind of crypto or Web3 ecosystem, a lot of it had nothing special to offer on value, right? They used to launch tokens where there really wasn't anything too special behind that. So when the market is down and retail is not that interested in token, they don't have anything else to offer. On the other side, with iGaming, brands are offering entertainment, they're offering fun, and they're offering that in a point in time in the market where there are $500 million of users that own crypto, and they want to do something with this crypto, and they cannot buy a car with it. They
Yeah.
struggle to buy a home with that, and they do want to have fun, especially in a
Yeah.
very turbulent time in the market. And iGaming businesses are offering them, and if it's a business that accepts crypto, it's even more convenient to them.
Yeah.
So I think that's a part that iGaming operators need to consider. Is that the right time for tokenization? Or is it the better time to stick to value, to let's give users fun? Let's give them
Yeah.
the opportunity to spend their time and be entertained.
No, I agree 100%. Like you said, crypto iGaming, well, iGaming in general and crypto iGaming as well has just nonstop entertainment and nonstop content. So the fun doesn't end as long as you have money. But going back a little to user acquisition, you work with multiple crypto advertisers across the board, and this gives you a unique view, I believe, into the real user behavior and traffic composition. If you had to point out the biggest mistakes crypto casinos make in user acquisition, what would it be?
So I think the biggest mistake, which we touched around earlier, is not building a brand and going directly at acquisition very, very aggressively.
Yeah.
Um, but another thing that we're seeing is that a lot of iGaming operators are thinking naturally in the same form of channels. They're going for the trivial, right? So if you're an
Hmm.
iGaming operator, especially in crypto, um, it's not that the whole world is open up to you, right? It's not that you can go on Google and buy the ads that everybody are after. It's not that
Yeah.
you can easily go on Meta. So you're already playing in a playfield that is more limited.
Yeah.
But within this playfield, there's still what I would refer to as underpaid attention, right? That's the Gary V terminology of where can I get the best attention for the lowest rate of
Yeah.
places where I get the alpha, where
Hmm.
there are some opportunities on the table that people overlook. One of them, for instance, is Telegram ads within mini apps. So in Telegram, for our listeners that are not well familiar with that, it's more than an instant messaging app. There's also a wallet inside that you can load money into. You can pay with credit, but ultimately it's crypto behind the scenes that is sitting on the Ton network. And there are games within Telegram. These are just
Hmm.
mini apps. Essentially, these are websites that are packed
Yeah.
into an app. And when you get into these apps and you want to pay, the wallet is already part of the same thing. So the friction is so low. So
Hmm.
for anybody of the listeners that used to work at a regulated iGaming businesses, you all know the KYC and the amount of friction that is being listed on top. But if you go into Telegram, for anybody who never experienced that, you just load money into your wallet, you go into an iGaming app, you just deposit. Perhaps whether that's tap to earn, whether that's something else, which is so easy. And the biggest trap that we're seeing is that iGaming operators are saying to themselves, we cannot go on Google, we cannot go on Meta, we cannot go on TikTok. What can we do? We can do KOLs, great, let's do that. We can do display ads, great, let's do that. But this is probably where the world ends. And the answer to that is no. There's still underpaid attention in other channels like Telegram ads, which Addressable is naturally offering in a targeted way, in a data-driven way. There's still this underpaid attention that can give you the alpha to kind of break out of competition.
Hmm. Yeah, it's very true. And there's this widely held belief that crypto users are high value users, right? And I think also at the same time have higher risk tendency. On the other hand, crypto users acquisition without the right tools is getting more and more expensive. I'm hearing FTDs that are $1,000, very often it feels like crypto iGaming operators are shooting in the dark as well. They don't know how many of the website visitors are actually cryptocurrency holders. And if they do know they're holding, they don't know just how much, right? Having said that, we're seeing operators like Stake, Rollbit, Shuffle continuing to dominate the market despite strong insurgents competing for their audiences. What are they doing right? What are the top 3, top 5, top 7 doing right from your perspective?
It's a great question. So let's put two assumptions on the table that explain why crypto users might be worthy of more, right? We all know that within the iGaming world, there are different types of users. It's not that all people that like to go on iGaming platforms are the same users, right? There are some that like the culture I like NBA and basketball, so me and my friends can go and bet over who will take the playoffs that are starting right now. Versus there are people that would bet on horse racing or would like to play the poker. These are very, very different players, right?
Yeah.
And one dimension to look at these players is what's the amount of risks that they like taking? Do they like low volatility in the world? Are these the type of people that would sit on a slot machine? They want to win like 70% of the time. They don't mind if they're winning like plus 15%, right? Or are these the high rollers that they want high volatility games? They can put huge amounts of money on the table, but when they win big, right? So if you segment the high rollers and you take these out, it's very hard for them to play today in regulated businesses, right? If you want to bet, if you want to take $100,000 bonus that you got on your enterprise commission, and you want to go and play for that in a regulated casino, best of luck to you, right? It's almost impossible. You'd be asked for the KYC and for the sorts of funds. And even if all of that is legit, they will tire you so much that you won't be able to do that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of that segment is being redirected to crypto. That's a segment that's pretty much worth a lot. It's not necessarily the majority of gamers, but it is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the second thing is crypto created a new generation that has this redistribution of wealth where a lot of people got rich, maybe not overnight, but over the course of 5 to 10 years, right? And these people, as we're seeing that on chain, they're still sitting on their money, spending that quite lightly for the same reasons that we spoke about earlier, that it's pretty challenging to buy a car or a house with crypto. And they're looking for opportunities to spend them. And in a lot of cases, they made this money fairly easily compared to people who can work their entire life and not make any of that, but they don't have a lot of opportunities to spend it. So in some cases, people may argue that it's easier for them to spend this virtual money that they earned, not overnight, but definitely not over a lifetime, right? So with these two assumptions in place, that's a huge potential for iGaming businesses that are working in crypto. If I'm looking at the biggest players and the game they're playing, I think they're naturally targeting these audiences, but I think they do something bigger than that. I think they're aiming at people who are not necessarily just about crypto and are making the crypto economy open to them. So in a sense, they're not shouting crypto. You wouldn't see that with Stake. You wouldn't see that with Shuffle. You wouldn't even see that with Polymarket, right? Which Polymarket is clear. That's not iGaming, right? But prediction market, in a sense, it's the same form of a game where you can earn money. So you can put that within the category. So I think what made these players so big is that they use the crypto infrastructure, but they go much bigger than that. I don't think that opportunity is open to everybody that's just getting started. So to wrap this up kind of in a short manner, if you're an iGaming operator, you're just getting started with your brand, I would think about the segments of users in crypto where you truly have the very, very high potential. These are users that got that are not able to have the same fun game on the regulated industries, and you can offer that to them, obviously in a compliant and fair way. But as you're getting bigger, the story has to be how to break out of crypto into much, much bigger audiences. That's a Polymarket play, that's a Stake.com play, that's a Shuffle play, and so on.
Okay, let me ask you another follow-up question, maybe rephrased, but hopefully, if you can answer it. We're seeing the top 5, top 7 still getting most of the action, right? Stake, Roobet, Shuffle, Gamdom, Rainbet, Betfury. Is it because they were there first, or is it because they have a much better play, much better product, much better brand, much better retention, much better user acquisition, data, everything? Is it that? Because this is what's bothering, obviously, all the 100 other smaller operators, that are just getting started. Why can't I be as good as Stake? Why can't I be the default choice?
I think it's the tricky thing to think that it's because they were there first. I think it's about brand building. But the reason why them being first is a bit misleading is if you think about the biggest names in the online casino spaces that are regulated players, huge, you think of the Entains of the world, you think of others like that. If they would put the amount of effort to create a new brand, a crypto brand that is very successful with great ambassadors and with great games, would they succeed in the same way? I think the answer is yes, but at the same time, they have much more to risk, right? Because in crypto, there's still some uncertainty around regulation, and still you kind of need to play the game correctly, and there's still a lot of uncertainty. So they're limited from going at this race, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I would think that if they would go at this race, which I know they're trying,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the fact that they weren't first would limit them from doing that. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's about being first. I think it boils down to brand building, to creating something unique, to stand out, and obviously to having the capital to fund all of that. Because brand building and distribution, it's hard, and in the world of AI, it's even becoming harder.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So, different topic. There's a strong narrative right now that, in general, retail crypto is fading and everything is moving towards institutions. Do you agree with that, or are you seeing something different in the data?
I'm seeing something very different in the data. So I think when people look at crypto, a lot of them would be saying crypto was designed to be finance 2.0, but at the same time, people have kind of made a play of that. They made a play with NFTs that are worthy of millions of dollars, and some speculation, and some tokens are inflated, and people have bought into that. Um, I don't think it was a side effect. I think a lot of people are looking into speculation as a game. I think people are always interested in finding an opportunity to get rich, playing games, finding alpha, and I don't think that's going to go away. And in a sense, I would argue that, well, probably 70% of what's in crypto would go and merge into traditional finance, and we're seeing that goes towards institution. I
Mm-hmm.
still think 30% of that will always remain under speculation and gambling. I think people like to have fun. They like to look for opportunities. They like to think about the Cinderella story of you play with small stakes and you go big.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for that reason, I think that crypto, when I'm looking at iGaming, will always have its place. I think a lot of people are into crypto not necessarily for trading and investment, but sometimes for the fun and for the opportunity for a moonshot. So with that, I definitely think that traditional finance is the place where most crypto will go to. But I do think that iGaming will always have a special place, and I don't think that's going to go away.
We're taking a short break to remind you, FAM is bigger than this podcast. We're building a global community of crypto and iGaming professionals, and our socials are where that community lives between events. Follow us on Instagram for the lifestyle and the rooms you want to be in. Follow us on X for real-time takes and insider news. And subscribe on YouTube for the full conversations. Everything is linked below. It takes 10 seconds and it's worth it. All right. Good one. And Asaf, one final question before we leave. And this is one that's definitely keeping up operators and games providers and platform providers and aggregators, all the different players in the iGaming industry. Where do you see the biggest untapped opportunity in crypto iGaming right now? Is it on the operator level, the CRM level, the game production, the streamers? Where is it?
It's on the data level. Naturally,
Uh-huh.
I'm biased, but
Mm-hmm.
I think when a lot of people are thinking about crypto, they're thinking, okay, there's an untapped audience that I can go into. Um, these are users that would probably spend more. This is a very clear one. This is a place where there's still something new, so I can perhaps raise money. VCs would be more interested about something that is crypto-ish. But where I think a lot of people are missing is they're not thinking about crypto from the data level, right? When I went into crypto, and that's my personal story. I went into crypto in 2016, 10 years ago. From the academic perspective, I did my master's and my PhDs with more than 10 co-authored paper in crypto. Aside from the speculation, which this is what everybody was thinking about,
Mm-hmm.
what I saw is the biggest layer of financial data that there is. It's this one database that you can look into and see How much money do people have? Where are they putting their money? Where are the biggest opportunities in this space? And this is where I think is the biggest untapped opportunity, because I think a lot of operators in France, they don't realize that they're literally one click apart or one subscription apart from installing software that is looking at their website, looking at their mobile traffic, looking at the blockchain traffic, and figuring out where do they have opportunities for growth, which of their competitors, players are drifting away for them to take over, who is making money, which of the users on my website are whales that I should be focusing on and dedicate an account manager to, which of the traffic on my website is fraudulent, and I don't want to give them any rewards because I'll probably have to freeze them over. The data side of crypto is oftentimes overlooked, and that's where I think is the biggest opportunity.
So in other words, you're telling operators and other key players in the iGaming industry, hire more data people, work with more data partners.
Yes, and for anyone who's interested, we're always happy to make a free audit. If you want to look at the data that's on your website, feel free to reach out after the podcast. I'm available on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on each of these platforms. But feel free to come to us and say, you know what, Asaf, I've heard you on the FAM podcast. I want to know more into the data. Give it to me. Don't charge me for anything. Just make a quick installation on my website and tell me, do I have the whales? Do I have the fraudulent traffic? Do I have the opportunities? We'll tell you that. We're data geeks. We love seeing the data. If you see a great opportunity, maybe we can work together. But that's nothing that's a must. We want to show you the data so you understand how big is the opportunity.
All right. You heard it here. It's free. All right. Asaf, thank you very much for coming to FAM podcast. It's been really interesting speaking with you. I'm looking forward to hearing more about addressable success stories with crypto casinos. I'm looking to collaborate more with FAM and help you guys spread your wings as well. And yeah, I'll see you soon. It's one of the biggest conferences.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to that.
Thank you.